the question window to the right of your screen. Please make sure your last name appears at the beginning of your question. We do recommend pre-typing your questions into a Word file and then copying and pasting them into the question window just to avoid time delays. If you do have a long question that you were unable to pre-type, you may type in and submit incoming so that we know to pause and wait for your full question. Finally, please note that we will not be using the raise hand function during this meeting and it will not be monitored. Should the live broadcast terminate for any reason, participants should close their browser and restart the broadcast using the same link that they used initially. This should also be the first step you take if you have any issues with your audio or the polling questions. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Today's webinar and questions log will be recorded and made available to registrants that are unable to attend. All right, next slide, Julie. Before moving forward with the business meeting, I would like to introduce the NSAMRT Board of Directors. Paul Manhennett, Vice President, Megan Bryden, Past President, Diana Shepard, Treasurer, Bev Barrios, Secretary, Rebecca Jessam, Member at Large, Miranda Thompson, Member at Large, Jonathan Bauer, CAMRT Director, and myself, Chrissy Gamache, NSAMRT President. I'd also like to introduce our NSAMRT staff, the one and only Julie Avery, the NSAMRT Director, or Executive Director. All right, so also present at today's meeting is Harriet Schumacher, who will be our Chief Scrutineer and Moderator for today, Ryan Baxter from McGinnis Cooper, who is our Legal Representative, and Jennifer Cresselbuck, who is the President of the Nova Scotia Society of Diagnostic Medical Sonography, or NSSDMS. Welcome to you all and thank you for joining us. I would also like to acknowledge the contribution of past presidents who have joined us today. I'd like to recognize Karen Fader and Megan Bryden and Bert Langell and Brian Martell. If I've missed any past presidents, please let us know through the question box so that you can be recognized. And last but not least, I recognize the valuable contributions of our many NSAMRT volunteers who work on various committees and work groups and projects, and without whom we would not be able to accomplish our initiatives. So thank you. Today we'll be using a polling app to vote on the motions during the AGM. We do have a test question to get us started. Harriet, can you please make the first poll live? So answer the question and hit the submit now when you see it on your screen. And a reminder that only active NSAMRT registrants can vote, and unfortunately this does not include our student members. So we'll just wait until the poll is complete. Everyone's voted. Harriet, are votes still coming in?
Yes, they are. We have about 61% who voted, but I am seeing some people who are saying they can't vote or it's not working on their end.
Okay, so unfortunately, you'll have to close your internet browser and open it back up again and find the link to this again and log back in. I'm so sorry.
And I'm going to answer to those of you who are telling me that it's not working. Could you tell me what specifically is not working? Do you not see the poll?
If they're panelists, they won't see the poll. The panelists have to vote through the question, the chat box, right? Or the question box. So the people, the board members can't vote.
Right.
So the voting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can see the poll, but it won't let them choose a box is what I'm hearing so far.
Okay, so yeah, that's why we're doing the test. So yeah, we'll wait till you log off, log in.
Somebody said after a minute it worked, so maybe it's just a time thing.
Perfect. I know there's lots of internet issues, I'm sure, across Nova Scotia.
Yeah, and I would also encourage people just to check the browser that they're using as well for logging into the internet. Sometimes that's an issue I've noticed. So I find that Chrome tends to be the best browser for these types of things. So I don't know what you're using, but maybe trying a different browser might make it more accessible for you. That's my IT expertise. Okay, it worked after log off and log in. Okay, that's great.
Awesome. Do you think the
So I'll
poll's
let the
complete?
rest. Yeah, I'll just let the rest of those folks. We've got about 75%. So for those of you, I just want to make sure that you can get access to this to log out, log back in. Maybe we'll just give 15 more seconds for those folks to do that. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead then and close the poll.
Perfect. Thank you.
And there's our results.
Awesome. Oh, we get to see the answer.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you. If you are attending today's AGM as part of a group, please delegate a scrutineer for your group now. And can that identified person please go ahead now and type into the question area your full name and total number of voting NSAMRT registrants that are present in your group. And we will pause while you furiously decide and type. I think it's mentioned somewhere else in here, but while we're pausing, I'll remind those that are attending in a group, it's important that there is a sign-in sheet available to all people that are attending, and your signature has to be present on the sign-in sheet, and the sign-in sheet has to be signed and dated by the organizer or scrutineer, and yeah, made available so that when you are logging this as CPD credits, you have proof of attendance. All right, Harriet, are there any groups with us today?
There are no groups.
Really? I'm shocked.
Mm-hmm.
People just are probably still arguing about who the scrutineer is. All right, I will say this next little line in case there are groups. Each time a poll goes live, we ask that the scrutineer for your group enter the number of yes and the number of no votes into the question box. Please do not answer the poll directly because there's more than one of you, so please use the question box. A reminder as well, oh, that's the thing about the sign-in sheet. Perfect. All right, we now need to confirm that we have a quorum of at least 20 registrants before we continue. Harry, can you please make the next poll live?
Okay, the poll is live. You can go ahead and vote.
I'm trying not to look at the questions. It's hard from earlier.
And so if for some reason the poll is not working and you are an attendee, because I'm seeing again that some people are saying they can't click again, maybe you could just put your answer into the question box and I'll collect it manually. We had to minimize the screen to answer the poll. Okay, thanks, Ellen. Wonderful. Yeah, that's great, everyone. Thank you so much. Yes, there is one question. The question is, are you currently a registrant in good standing with the NSAMRT? And the answers are one of the following, yes or no. Okay, so minimize the full screen. Thank you, Katie. So there's some advice for everyone else. Just don't have that open as full screen.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're learning as we go. The beauty of technology. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll.
Perfect. And do we have quorum?
Yes, we have quorum.
Excellent. Perfect. All right, so the contents of the annual report were posted to the NSAMRT website on May 4th, and the draft financials were posted on May 28th. These documents provide all the necessary reference material that you need for this meeting. In addition to the website, you can find these documents conveniently located in the Handouts tab on your screen. If you just hover over the icons, there should be a Handouts tab there where you can find the annual report and the finances. The agenda is located on page 3. Now I will need a mover to accept the agenda for the 80th Annual General Meeting.
I'm Paul Manhattan, and I move to accept the agenda.
Excellent. Is there a seconder?
Miranda Thompson, I second the motion.
Perfect. It is moved and seconded to approve the agenda of the 80th Annual General Meeting. Are there any corrections to this agenda? If you have corrections, please submit them through the question function. We'll pause also and give people time. Remember, if you do have something long to say, just type in incoming so that we know there's something coming in. Yeah. Harriet, have we received any corrections yet?
We have not.
Perfect. I feel that's good. The question is to approve the agenda for the 80th Annual General Meeting. Harriet, please launch the next voting poll. Everyone, please. Thank you. Hopefully you'll all be able to vote this time.
Okay, I'm going to close the poll and motion has passed.
Perfect. Motion carried. Yeah, it takes a long time. It looks like there's over 140 of us, so it takes a long time to click and submit. All right, next up, I'll need a mover to accept the minutes of the 79th Annual General Meeting.
I'm Paul Manhattan, and I move to accept the minutes of the 79th AGM.
Excellent. Is there a seconder?
Miranda Thompson, I second.
Perfect. Is moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the 79th Annual General Meeting. Are there any corrections to these minutes? Again, please submit any corrections via the question function. Are there any corrections coming through, Harriet?
There are no questions being asked.
Awesome. Okay. The question is to approve the minutes of the 79th Annual General Meeting. Harry, can you please launch the voting poll, and everyone please vote when it appears on your screen.
So I'll give about 10 seconds left for the poll and then I'll be closing it.
Thank you.
And motion has passed.
Awesome. Motion carried. Next up, business arising. Is there any business arising or discussion from the minutes of last year's meeting? If you have anything, please submit it through the question box for discussion. And we will pause again. We received any questions pertaining to business arising from the minutes, Harriet?
No, we have not.
All right, I'm going ahead. All right, next up, number 5. First, I would like to thank everyone for their hard work in developing their annual reports this year. The annual report itself is quite an excellent looking document this year, I must say. I now invite Julie Avery, our Executive Director and Registrar, to provide a brief report on the past year and to provide a glimpse of what you can expect this next year. Julie?
Hello, everyone. I'm going to try to keep my ED update pretty short, as I'm aware most of you are probably very interested in getting to the post discussion on proclamation coming forward. As such, the first slide here is on proclamation. It has been a focus of our work this year and will remain a focus of our work in the coming year. However, I'm not going to speak to it right now, as we will be doing a lot addressing it principally in the post AGM discussion. What I am going to speak today is about our 5 areas on our strategic plan. A year and a half ago, NSAMRT developed a strategic plan with the input from NSSDMS. There was 5 areas that were identified as our main goals over the next 4 years, and I'd like to highlight some things that were done under each of those 5 areas. First, there's the governance. First, there's governance for long-term viability. We wanted to see what the participation rate of members were. So we did a survey a year and a half ago, and then we did another survey this year, and we plan on continuing to survey our registrants over the next 4 years to get a better idea of what participation rate is like amongst the registrants. And that's not just participation on committees and volunteering formally, but other ways of participating as well. We've also developed a board skills matrix to better identify gaps of skill sets on our board and to be able to address them more strategically. For example, we have our treasurer right now taking a course for basic financial understanding of statements, etc. Another area that we looked at was cloud-based financial management. We moved over to that last spring. We've now marked 1 full year underneath the cloud-based management system. In the last year, we have written 1 physical check in the entire year. Everything else has been done through a cloud-based system, and it's been working really well. It's making the auditing and review process much easier as well, and much easier to track expenses because invoices and bills follow the entire link through automatically. Investment policy was another area that was identified last year. As we have been working to develop reserve funds, it means that we actually have a significant amount of money sitting in the bank, not really doing any work for us. And we realized that we should be doing something to make that money do a little bit more for us. This year, we brought a consultant in to talk to the board about a policy around investment and what that would look like. The finance committee developed it and brought it to the board for approval. And just recently, the monies have been transferred from the bank account into investments. We also, in deciding what amount would be invested, we looked at our banking history over the last 5 years to see what our minimum amounts were in the bank at any given time to ensure that we always had enough money in cash form to manage our operations. So at this time, In March of this year, a check was written, and it was the only check of the year that was written for $280,000 to be put into investments. Those investments are all very, they're able to be liquidated very quickly if their need arose that we needed to have the cash. One area I wanted to touch on was how COVID-19 has affected us financially. The budget for this year was made before COVID-19 hit. So we do expect some areas where that's going to affect our bottom line. For costs, legally not really a large hit. We did ask legal to review some documents for us, so there might be a few $100s extra in cost there. We did waive registration fees for retirees who were coming back as extra complement for human resources in case they were needed. So again, that would be hundreds of dollars to a couple thousand. The largest impact right now that we foresee is the Atlantic Conference. At this time, it's been moved to September. The sponsorship for that has been very generous, and we were anticipating it would be fully covered by sponsorship. However, if in the end we do need to cancel it outright, all that sponsorship money will need to be returned. However, some of the expenses will remain, and we may be on the hook for anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 in costs at that point. On the savings side, already this year there's been 2 trips that were canceled that myself and the president would have gone to, so resulting in about $4,000 worth of saving. If further trips are canceled in the fall, that will result in further savings. Site visits did not happen this year, so that cost about $2,500. Leadership Development Institute, while we had multiple people apply who are of high caliber, it had to be canceled this year due to COVID-19. And bursaries are on hold at this time, though again, if a conference comes up that people are able to attend to, we will give those bursaries out, but at this point in time, there is no live conferences to attend. Registrant engagement, we've been working on looking at an inventory of our communications to see what communication strategies we have currently in place and working to add to that. We've worked on developing a website for the new college that will work better for the public, the employers, and our registrants. For example, it will now be searchable where our current one is not. So if you can't find something easily, you can just go in and search on the website and it will bring up the documentation or topics you're looking for. Will also be accessible for those with various disabilities. We're having it checked out for that as well. So someone who can't read, someone who can't see, or someone who has eyesight issues, it will be compatible to the different devices out there that assist them. We are included in the survey that we've done in last year and this year is a satisfaction and knowledge survey. We are trying to measure how satisfied registrants are with the performance of NSAMRT and also their understanding of what our mandate and responsibilities are. We're using this to try to inform where we need to provide further education and information, where the knowledge gaps that are identified in the survey. This will again happen each year of the 4 years of the strategic plan. Proactive partnering is an ongoing initiative that we're trying to expand upon. We have partnered with other regulators on multiple initiatives to help save costs. For example, we did governance training of the board in the fall, and this year we had all the health regulators join in on that. So something that would have cost us thousands of dollars ended up costing us hundreds of dollars instead. We partner with CMRT in different areas. We've also partnered with Sonography Canada, specifically around exams and international assessments. And we're partnering with School of Health Sciences in delivery of education to students on self-regulation. And we are opening to any other partnering relationships that come along. Promotion, we did a Tim's ad again this year, and that was a 15-second silent ad that was aired in all Tim Hortons with a video screen. It lasted 15 seconds, 4 times an hour for 1 week. We also did a sponsored Chronicle Herald article that had really good uptake. And we were also featured in the IWK newsletter, A Day in the Life of an MRT. The other thing I'd like to actually share with you now is a college video that we did. And this is the first time we're showing it. Let's wait 2 seconds. Find it here. And we'll show you this video. Here we go.
Whether it's your first visit or you know the ropes, medical imaging and radiation therapy professionals are there for all Nova Scotians. We give you peace of mind by using world-class technology to show you what your eyes can't see. We provide answers to some of your most important questions by diagnosing and treating you with compassion and care. Most of all, we're there when you need us. The college's job is to make sure our professionals meet the highest standards of integrity, accountability, and excellence, so you can focus on what matters most.
Okay, we're back. Okay, so that video will be put on our website, the new college website. It will also be integrated into whatever type of article or we sponsor next year as well, because we'll do some type of online form again, and we'll link that video in as well. And we'll be looking at other places that we can feature as well. Staffing at the call at NSAMRT has stayed consistent this year. There's been no change. I, as the executive director, am 0.8 and work 30 hours a week. Our administrative assistant, Joanne, joined us last year and approximately a year ago, and she is working 15 hours a week. And we have a student again this year. We opted to go ahead with the student placement even with COVID-19, because it is a sponsored government position where the government is actually paying almost 3/4 of the cost of the student. So while it's more of a challenge in onboarding the student and having them work remotely from us so they have less support, we still felt it was a worthwhile endeavor to have her come aboard and do some of the more time-consuming administrative duties that we have. One of her big areas is just going through our documents right now and applying some college branding so the documents are ready when we go to the new college. I'd also like to do some celebration of our registrants. The bursaries, as I spoke about a few moments ago, we actually do have a few applicants for that. Both of those bursaries would be given out if in the fall we're able to, for example, do fall education live or anything like that. So if there is a live event that is able to go ahead, we will continue to give out those bursaries. We do have applicants for the Distinction in Patient Care Award, and that will be given out in the fall education session once that has been decided. It just closed last week. And again, I want to congratulate those who did apply for LDI, because there were some very, very strong applicants for that this year. And NSAMRT is committed to continuing to send someone to LDI, and we hope that next year CMRT is able to offer that program again, and we will again join in supporting it. We have 3 volunteers that have just recently left us to go on to other commitments. Nicole DeVoe was the chair of our Policy and Procedures Committee and has just taken on a new job and has focused on that at this time, and we want to thank her for all her time. Normally we would be presenting some certificates at this time, but we will have to mail them out. Our next person is Colleen Keogh. She was on our sonography subcommittee, and she is a diagnostic medical sonographer, and she has been part of that committee to help develop all the processes and standards in place for onboarding sonographers. The last person I'd like to speak about is Megan Bryden. At this time, we would normally be bringing Megan up and presenting Megan with her pin for her service as president of NSAMRT. She has done 2 terms as president, and then prior to that, several terms on the board. When I think of an engaged, passionate person for the MRT profession, Megan Bryden is one of the first people that comes to mind. you cannot ask for someone who has dedicated more time, effort, energy, and belief in this profession. She has been instrumental in moving NSAMRT forward in the last few years, and I just would like to thank her very much on behalf of all of our registrants and our board and myself for the work that she's done. I would not have had the support I have received from her as executive director is just incredible, and I can't be more thankful for that. We do have a pin for her. Unfortunately, I don't even have a picture of it here today, but we will be presenting that at a live function in the future, near future, hopefully. Again, Megan, I just want to thank you for all your hard work and dedication. And that, I'm going to send it back to Chrissy now.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. I have seen in the comment section that some of us weren't able to view the video, which is very unfortunate. We're not able to post it on the Facebook page at this time, just because we're not proclaimed yet. So that was your one-shot glimpse until it goes real live. But anyways, the video was awesome. I hope some of you got to see it at least. It was a lot of hard work, and I think it looks amazing. All right, back to business. Is there a motioner to move to accept the annual reports en masse, excluding the financial reports?
Foreman Hennett, I move to accept the reports.
Perfect. Is there a seconder?
Miranda Thompson, I second.
Awesome. Thank you, Miranda. It is moved and seconded to approve the reports en masse, excluding the financials. Are there any questions on the president's or executive director's report? And that's on page 6 and 7 of the annual report for those following along. And we'll pause again for some questions. Are there any questions coming through, Harriet?
There are no questions coming through.
Awesome. We'll move along then. The question is to accept the reports en masse, excluding the financial reports. Harriet, please launch the voting poll now. And a reminder, we're having lots of trouble with people not being able to vote. 3 key things: make sure you're not in full screen mode, just exit full screen. If you're still not able to vote, log out and log back in. I'm sorry, that's painful. And if that still doesn't work, please just type your answer into the question box and we will record your vote that way. Thank you for your patience. This virtual platform is not without fault.
Okay, I'm going to be closing the poll in about 5 seconds. Okay, and motion has passed.
Perfect. Motion carried. Next, I'll take a mover to approve the reviewed financial statements for 2019 and 2020.
Foreman Hennett, I move to accept the financial reports.
Thank you. And a seconder?
Miranda Thompson, I second.
Awesome. It's moved and seconded to approve the financial statements for 2019 and 2020. Are there any questions on these statements? Please type away. And while we pause for questions, I would like to invite Diana Shepherd, our treasurer, to speak a little on this report and give a brief overview. Diana?
Hi there. So if anybody's had a chance to go through the financial statements yet, I just thought it would be a good idea. Can everybody hear me before I start rambling? I just thought it would be a good idea to bring up a few things that from our budget to our actuals that might have kind of sparked someone's interest. The first one would be gain loss on investments. Budgeted obviously would be 0, and then there's just over $3,000 there. So obviously we don't budget for that due to market fluctuation, so that's why it starts as 0, and then there's $3,300 there on the actual. The next one, if you go down just to the next line, miscellaneous revenue, there's just over $1,100 there. That's a PLI rebate from the CAMRT. When you go down a little bit farther, accounting, that's onboarding, and we're over about $2,000 there. Onboarding, and this year we changed accounting firms. So the previous provider that we had, after we had given them notice, they decided not to hold up their end of the bargain. I guess the last 2 months they just stopped doing anything. So then we had to pay our new provider extra to pick up the last 2 months of the previous provider. Board and committee development, if you go a bit further down, about $4,700 we were off there in our estimate, but we saved $4,700, right? So that's because we shared the cost of governance education that Julie spoke to earlier. And we didn't have volunteer education that we always have every year after our fall education, because we were doing our fall education. We didn't do fall education. This is, so a little farther down, consultants. There's actually a negative there, but that's because last year we had hired consultants, and then after the fact, we collaborated with other regulators to share the cost of that, but it was last year, and then when they reimbursed us, it would have been in this year, so it ended up being a negative. Legal costs, that's a big one. So $15,000, they're about over budget, but that's because we had set this budget before the Department of Health and Wellness, sorry, decided they were going to, or announced that they would begin reviewing our regulations. And then obviously a lot of them had to be redone and rewritten, which costs a lot of money. If you go a little further down, registrations, $5,000, we were a little over there. We added a voting module to the platform. So those are a few where we were probably a little over under that might have caught a few people's eyes. So quickly, that's kind of what I brought up. So if anybody has any questions at the end, you can certainly ask me. And if I can't answer, I'm sure I'll defer to Julie.
Yes, there are some questions. Sorry.
Okay, do we want to go to the next slide?
Oh,
Sure.
sure.
Do we want to answer questions on that? We'll go to the next slide first, and then we can answer questions.
I'm going to turn my webcam. I'm going to join you, Diana, just so you don't feel so alone.
I'm a little lost.
All right, go ahead with the questions, Harriet.
Okay, so the first question is regarding membership fees. The question is, have all NSAMRT and NSSDMS members been paying the same amount for dues?
No, certainly not. Well, and on this financial statement here, this is NSAMRT. NSSDMS is not part of our organization now, so these financial documents have nothing to do with NSSDMS. Once we become a college, then we will have merged financial documents, but right now they are not part of our association. This is the association documents. Once we are, and oh God, what is the large acronym?
The college.
The college, yes. Once we become the college, there will be the college documents, and then we will have one set of financial documents for the college. Right now, I don't actually know what their the cost of belonging to their association is.
And so as the stenographers, we're onboarding them right now so that we're ready for proclamation. And when they register, they are paying the full like $450 like we are. So when we are a college, all MRTs and all stenographers will pay the same dues, annual dues.
Okay, so there's a follow-up question to that original question then, which is, so only NSAMRT members have been paying all the costs associated with the college?
I'm probably going to defer this question to Julie, but I can say there's lots of projects and special projects and like things like the website and stuff like that where we have been collaborating on education events, stuff like that. But yeah, they're like joining us, and we have a much larger organization to deal with some of our day-to-day stuff.
So what I can say is NSSDMS contributes financially where they can. They have in the past contributed substantially to development of website. When we do education events, they pay for their own education. We invite them, but there is a fee. Fall education, we figure out the cost per person and they pay per person. As far as legal costs and things like that, yes, the vast majority of those costs falls on NSMRT. It is part of the nature of the beast and change. Right now, NSSDMS has, I think, 40 members that are paying. I believe it's 100. I don't quote me on that. I could get Jennifer to answer that in a second. But obviously, with those type of numbers, they don't have a substantial amount of revenues to be pumping into all the costs associated with regulation. Jennifer, how much do they pay?
Hey everyone. So it is a voluntary membership, so not everybody's required to be part of it. And the dues to be part of NSSDMS are $125 a year.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and then the funds that we have been accumulating over that do get transferred then into the college account. So we will be helping to pay for like the legal fees and things like that way as well.
Yeah, when we all become one.
Okay, and one other new question, PLI equals insurance? So question, what does PLI stand for? Is that insurance?
Yes, personal liability insurance. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Those are all the questions.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you, Diana.
You're very welcome.
Okay, so are there any, oh no, we already did the questions to the treasurer's report. The question is to approve the reviewed financial statements for 2019 and 2020. Harry, can you please launch the next voting poll?
Poll has been launched.
Awesome. And while we're waiting for this poll, I will say any questions you think of as we go along, please feel free to type them in and we'll address them after, or at any time you can email info@nsamrt.ca and we'll answer your questions because they're all very important, and we will be putting together like a FAQ document for after this.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now, and motion has passed.
Perfect. Motion carried. All right, 6.1. Is there a mover to ratify the election of Bev Barrios and Miranda Thompson to the NSAMRT Board of Directors?
Chairman Hennett, I happily move to ratify the election of Bev Barrios and Miranda Thompson.
Excellent. And a seconder?
Miranda Thompson, I second the motion.
Actually, I just realized, I guess Miranda can't second there because she's on it, so I'll second.
Thank you, Julie. All right, it's been moved and seconded to ratify the election of Bev Barrios and Miranda Thompson to the NSAMRT Board of Directors. Is there any debate? Please type in the question box if you have any questions or comments. So we didn't get to vote online again this year because there were 2 spots open and only 2 applicants. So they won by acclamation, I guess. And so, yes. Is there any debate or questions coming through, Harriet?
No, there are no debates or questions. There is a thanks for serving comment, though.
Awesome. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you very much. All right, the question is to ratify the election of Beth Barrios and Miranda Thompson to the NSAMRT Board of Directors. Harriet, please launch the voting poll, and everyone please vote when it appears. Miranda, since you have your audio available, it's hard not to say Thompson with a P. How do you say your last name?
Yeah, it sounds like a P to me. Thompson.
Okay, good.
I always say Thompson, no P.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm going to close the poll in 5 seconds. Okay, and motion has passed.
Perfect. Motion carried. The NSAMRT board is again recommending the appointment of the firm of MNP to perform a financial review for the 2020 and 2021 fiscal year. Is there a mover to approve this firm as our financial reviewers?
Coleman Hennett, I so move.
Excellent. And seconder?
Miranda Thompson, I second.
Thank you. It's moved and seconded to approve the firm of MNP as the financial reviewers for 2020 and 2021 fiscal year. Is there any debate? I feel like there's probably nothing coming through. Is there, Harriet?
There's nothing coming through. You're right with that.
All right. The question is to appoint the firm of MNP as the financial reviewers for 2020 and 2021 fiscal year. Harriet, please launch our next voting poll. I feel like we're getting better.
I know, it's running smoothly now. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now, and motion has passed.
Excellent. Motion carried. I would now like to introduce the Board of Directors for the 2020 and 2021 year. Megan Bryden, Bev Barrios, Rebecca Jessam, Paul Manhennett, Diana Shepard, and Miranda Thompson, and myself, Chrissy Gamache, as president. Specific roles on the board will be decided at the next board meeting. All right. So I guess that's it for the AGM. Thank you for attending and for your participation. I would like to thank Ryan Baxter from McGinnis Cooper and for everyone else for their assistance today. I declare this 80th Annual General Meeting of the Nova Scotia Association of Medical Radiation Technologists closed. And I am now going to turn the podium over to Harriet, who already has the podium really, as moderator for the next portion of our meeting.